Hello, guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We're back again for another stream. This is the FPL Team Selection video for Gameweek 2. But before we get started, just want to ask Jordan, how you doing? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good. Hope everyone else is having a nice day. And yeah, team selection is now upon us. Obviously, eventually the deadline stream is just around the corner. So yeah, exciting times for obviously Game Week 2.
Yeah, we'll discuss what our team's looking like for Game Week 2, but we'll quickly recap Game Week 1 as well, as we normally do. So I'll start off with my team for Game Week 1. It was actually a pretty good game week. So in goal, I do have Pickford, who got 2 points. Then I had the back three. I had Ben Chilwell, who got 7 points with the assist, which was nice. Estupinian, again, another assist, so he got 7 points as well. And unfortunately, Gabriel only got the 1 point due to him being benched for that game, and he came on late for that appearance. Moving on to Mbuemo, who does pick up the 7 points for the penalty he did slot in, which was nice to see. Rashford and Fernandes did blank in that game against Wolves. However, they did get the clean sheet points, so 3 points each. Saka gets 10 points, which is nice, getting that goal against Forest in the opening day. Martinelli got an assist as well, which was nice to see from him. And that, ends up with 5 points. So all in all, the midfield, pretty good, I'd say. Everyone else, apart from obviously the Manchester United guys, everyone got a return. So that was positive, similar to the back line, Estupinian and Chilwell getting returns, and then Gabriel was the only one that didn't get a return. However, obviously we know he didn't start. And then finally, up top, I've got João Pedro, who does get 7 points due to his penalty that he tucked away in that fixture. So that was nice for Pedro with the 7 points. And then finally, we know Haaland did score a couple of goals against Burnley, and obviously he ends up with 26 points because he's my captain. All in all, that is 78 points. So as you guys can see on my game week points, that was before Manchester United's game. Those points were before Man United game on Monday night. So I am on currently 78 points, and my overall rank is about 1 million as well. So this slide is obviously from Sunday, in terms of my score. But yeah, that is what my team looks like. On the bench, I've got Turner, Reece James, Kabore, and Archer. So yeah, game week 1, 78 points all out. I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, we'll discuss your team next, Jordan. Talk us through how your game week 1 has gone as well.
Okay, so overall Game Week 1 was not too bad. So we'll kick off with obviously Ederson, who got the clean sheet, and obviously got his 6 points from that clean sheet in that game, which was against Burnley in that 3-0 win. So that was a nice return for Ederson from the bounce. Moving on to the defence, obviously we got Estupinian, who got a 7-pointer from that 4-1 win for Brighton. Obviously an attacking return for Estupinian, a nice, and also the bonus on top of that. So yeah, nice return for Estupinian in defence. We've got Luke Shaw, who got a clean sheet as well for Man United in that very crazy game against Wolves. He did get a yellow card though, so a point was taken off, but that leaves him with 5 points. Finally, we got Trent, who was the last player in my defence, who only got 1 point. Obviously, they were against Chelsea, and it was a 1-1 draw, so no clean sheet for Trent against Chelsea in the first game week. Moving on to the midfield, we got Mitoma, who got his 5 points. He did assist one of Brighton's goals, which was nice to complete the double up on the Brighton returns. Next, we got Mbuemo, who did score in that match against Tottenham, and that was from a penalty. So it was nice to see Mbuemo taking action now that he is the penalty taker for Brentford at the current moment. So yeah, nice 7 points for Mbuemo. Moving on to Bruno Fernandes. Fortunately, the only point he got from that was a clean sheet point, so that leaves him with only 3 points from that Wolves game where Man United did win. But yeah, nothing else for Bruno Fernandes. Moving on to Saka, a bit more success. Obviously, he scored in the Arsenal game against Nottingham Forest where they won 2-1, and also got bonus points on top of that. So a nice double haul for Saka, and yeah, a nice 10 points return for him. And finally, we've got Foden, who, similar to Bruno Fernandes, obviously had nothing involved in the game despite winning the match. Obviously, Man City won 3-0 against Burnley, but Foden wasn't a part of any of the goals. So that just leaves him with 3 points, getting that 1 point for the clean sheet. And finally, moving on to the forward line, obviously we've got Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea, got 1 point. He got a yellow card in that game against Liverpool, but he hasn't come off the score sheet yet. So nothing for him in the first game week, but hopefully next one against West Ham, he does improve. And then finally, we've got Haaland, who was the captain this week. We've got 26 points for obviously scoring the 2 goals for Burnley, against Burnley, and getting the bonus 3 on top of that. So a nice return for Haaland off of the first game week. And obviously the captain pick was the right one for me. And just briefly on the bench, we've got Areola, who got 3 points. I think he got 1 point for making 4 saves. Next, we've got Botman, who got 5 points. Surprisingly, he did assist one of Newcastle's goals in that massive 5-1 victory over Aston Villa. Next, we've got James Hill, who got 1 point. And obviously, Mabama got 0 because he didn't play for Aston Villa. So overall, not such a bad game week at all. Only, I'd say 3 blanks in my start. 4 blanks, sorry, in my starting 11. So not too bad overall. A lot of returns from the team, and overall, I'm just checking my points now because this was from obviously.
Yeah, I think you're on 74 points, I believe.
Yes, yeah, I'm on 74 points, and the rank does still stay the same, around 1.8 million. So overall, not a bad game week to kick off fantasy. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how game week 1 has gone.
Okay, nice. So that's your game week 1 team, or both our game week 1 teams out of the way. Let's pull up my team for game week 2 and how I'm actually lining up. So as you guys can see from the screen, that's currently what my team looks like. So I'll quickly read it out. So I've got Turner in goal, who's got Sheffield at home. I think that is a decent fixture. I am preferring actually to bench Pickford in this game week. I think I'm going to go with Turner, who's got Sheffield, instead of Pickford v Villa. I do think Villa will score, so I've decided to play Turner instead. And we know he's the starting goalkeeper for Forest now. So I think I'm going to play Turner. Moving on to the back 3, Estupiñán, I think he's going to start obviously against Wolves. I think it's a pretty decent fixture for Brighton. I know Wolves actually played well, but yeah, he's in the team. I think hopefully, he can get me another attacking return. That will be nice this week. But yeah, I think it's a decent fixture. Wolves away. Moving on to Ben Chilwell. We know he was very good as well against Liverpool in game week 1. He's got West Ham away, and I think again that could be a nice fixture for Chilwell. Obviously, Chelsea looking a lot better than last season, and I'm quite happy to own Chilwell, and hopefully he can get me another return in this game week. If I move on to Gabriel, where there is slight doubt in Gabriel for me. As you guys know, Gabriel owners, we were very unfortunate that Gabriel was dropped in the last match in game week 1. Arteta decided to, put him on the bench for whatever reason, tactical reasons, it looks like. We know Jurrien Timber has actually been confirmed to have an ACL injury. So Jurrien Timber, unfortunately, is out pretty much for the full season. So very bad news. Hopefully he can recover well, but it should mean Gabriel comes back into the starting 11. And if that's the case, then I'm going to take that risk and play Gabriel and hope he starts against Palace. If I see news that Gabriel could be on the bench again, I will be making a transfer and probably taking Gabriel out. So that's one to watch. But for now, I think he will start. I'm going to make it, I'm going to leave the decision till very, very late. And hopefully we get some leaks. But Gabriel is going to start for me as far as I'm concerned as of now. Moving on to the midfield 5, I've gone with Mbeumo, who has Fulham away. I think, again, that's a pretty nice fixture for Mbeumo. We know he's on penalties, so I'm happy to own him in that fixture, and hopefully he can get me another attack in return. And yeah, I'm happy to own him. I think he could have a good game. And I did like the way he played against Spurs as well. So yeah, good player, good to hold. And yeah, moving on to the Manchester United boys, I've got, first off is Rashford. He's got Spurs away. Now, this could be a trick in Gameweek 1. However, they do have a decent record against Tottenham when they do play Spurs. They usually get the job done. So this could be a better fixture for Man United in that sense, where they can play a bit more counter-attacking against Spurs, which could allow Rashford to, hit them on the counter-attack and maybe get an attack in return. So I'm going to own Rashford, obviously, hold him, and I think he could have a decent game. Spurs do let in goals as well. So let's see. I think it's going to be an exciting game to watch for the neutral. Moving on to Bruno Fernandes, similar to Rashford, I'm going to hold him. I know Bruno Fernandes was a bit disappointing in that game against Wolves. However, I don't think it's the time to get rid of him yet. I am going to watch Bruno closely, though, because if he doesn't perform well again, he could be one on the chopping block for next week if I want to go to other players. But Bruno, he's got Tottenham. We know he's on penalties as well. He's on set pieces, free kicks. And Man United Tottenham is usually a game where there's a decent amount of goals. So I'm hoping that Fernandes and Rashford can actually do something in this match in terms of attacking potential. And then it will be nice to see one of them get a return. But if not, I am looking at Bruno potentially removing him for game week 3. As you guys can see as well, I've got double Arsenal. I've got Saka and Martinelli, who both have Palace away. Again, I think they're good. It's a good fixture. Saka did well in game week 1, obviously getting the goal, Martinelli assists. So I'm happy to have both of them for that. And I'm happy to hold them again for game week 2. And I think Palace away is a not too bad of a fixture, and we'll see how they do. And yeah, happy to own both. And finally, moving up top, you've got João Pedro, Wolves away. So again, that should be a nice fixture for João Pedro. Hopefully he can start. It looks like he will be the number 9, obviously taking the number 9 shirt. We know João Pedro is on penalties, so it's a big positive. A 5.5 million forward that has penalties, is a big plus. So I'm happy to hold João Pedro, if I'm being honest. So I think it's a decent fixture. And then finally, Haaland, who has Newcastle at home. Obviously, Man City played last night against Sevilla in the Super Cup. Man City did run out winners. Obviously, it was 1-1 after 90 minutes. And then Man City ended up winning the penalty shootout. I think it was 5-4. So Haaland did play yesterday, full 90, I believe. And turnaround on Saturday is quite quick, but I'm not really willing to back against Haaland. You could go Saka, I guess, if we're talking about captaincy options. I've got it on Haaland right now. I think Newcastle at home, because it's a home fixture, I still want to back Haaland and Man City. But I think if you want to go different, Saka, for example, in my case, I think Saka's a good option potentially. For those that do own Mo Salah, I think if I had Mo Salah, he would be my captain. 100% I'd go Mo Salah against Bournemouth at home. But for my team, I think I'm going to stick it on Haaland. Just because I still think Man City can win against Newcastle being at home. But I don't think that fixture is going to be easy for Man City, if I'm being honest. I do expect Newcastle to give them a serious game. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, on the bench, I've got Pickford, who I've decided to bench. I've got Archer, who's got Everton at home. I've got Kabore. Obviously, we know Luton have a blank game week due to something, I believe, with their stadium, which is not ready. So that match got called off. And then finally, as you guys can see on third bench, annoyingly, I think a couple of hours ago, it came out that Reece James has actually done his hamstring again. So if we remember, after the Liverpool game, Pochettino was asked about Reece James. What's up with Reece James? He had to come off a bit early. And Pochettino said he was just tired. It looks like he was just, just protecting the player. And it looks like Reece James could have a hamstring injury that could rule him out for a couple of weeks. We know Reece James, and I knew this risk with Reece James when I bought him in game week 1, that he has those issues in terms of injury. And I was actually going to play Reece James. My plan was to bench Gabriel and then play Reece James and have double Chelsea defense against West Ham. However, that looks like it's not going to be able to happen. Obviously, James is now injured, and I have to pray that Gabriel is fit. Sorry, Gabriel is actually selected by Arteta. Because if Gabriel doesn't start, then Archer and Kabore have not really got a bench. So hopefully Gabriel starts, but I'm going to be waiting for team news. as you can see, I've got 2 million in the bank, and I've also got one free transfer. My current idea really that I've got at the moment is to roll the transfer. So just roll the transfer, play Gabriel, hope he starts, and then have 2 free transfers for game week 3. That's what the current thinking is. If closer to the deadline, I get news that Gabriel is gonna miss out, then I will 100% make a move, because I know Reece James, I can't trust him. He obviously he's got another hamstring injury. So Gabriel definitely, if you've got him and Reece James, I think there's a slight worry. But from what I hear, with Timber being injured, I think he will start. So I'm going to roll the transfer and hopefully have 2 free transfers for game week 3, and then I'll take it from there. Yeah, Jordan, do you want to move on to your team then and just let us know your plans for game week 2, and what moves and your captaincy is, or what you're thinking?
Yes, so yeah, here's my team on the screen. So in goal, I do have Edison, who has Newcastle at home. I'm not absolutely confident that Man City can keep a clean sheet against Newcastle, especially after that 5-1 win against Aston Villa. It does look pretty dangerous for Newcastle from that first fixture in game week 1. So yeah, I'm a bit tedious whether Edison can keep a clean sheet in this game. Maybe he can get some save points, but I'm not too confident that clean sheet is likely. My second bench option for goalkeeper is Areola, but again, he has Chelsea at home. So again, I don't really see a clean sheet for Areola also for West Ham. So I'm just going to go over Edison, see what happens, and maybe we can get a couple of points from saves. Moving on to the defence, we'll start off with Estupiñán, who has Wolves away. Now, obviously, we've spoken about how good Brighton's fixtures are in the first 5. So, yeah, it's pretty obvious that Estupiñán is selected in the starting 11, as most of you also have Estupiñán, and obviously he proves that he is a decent pick to go for, as he did get 7 points in game week 1. So another nice fixture for Brighton, Wolves away. Even though Wolves did show a lot of threat against Man United, I still think Brighton have the upper hand despite being a away fixture, just because of the way their play style is. Moving on to the next defender, and that is Shaw, who's got Tottenham away. Now, I was pretty shocked at Man United's performance against Wolves. I was utterly disappointed with every player on that field. I think the only player I was happy with really was Bruno. I think he was pretty much the person that was ahead of everyone else in that game. But regardless, they still kept a clean sheet, and obviously they have Tottenham away next. Again, it's another fixture where I don't think Man United can keep a clean sheet, but Onana did prove himself really good in goal, obviously against Wolves. So maybe with a good bit of luck for Man United again, maybe they can keep a clean sheet against Tottenham away. Unlikely, but again, Luke Shaw does have that attacking threat if there is no clean sheet for him. And finally, moving on to the last defender, and that is Trent, who's got Bournemouth at home. Now, I think out of all my defenders I have, I think Trent is the most likely of one to get a clean sheet, as they do have Bournemouth at home. And I think last season, obviously, Liverpool did win 9-0 against Bournemouth. So I am pretty confident that despite Liverpool having that defensive issues at the back, they can manage to keep a clean sheet against Bournemouth. And potentially, because Trent playing in that inverted right back position, he can also get an attacking return as well. So I'm pretty excited to see what obviously Trent can do in this match, now that the hard match has passed where they were against Chelsea, obviously in their first game week. And now moving on to the midfield. So we got Matoma, who has Wolves away, and he completes the Brighton double up. Obviously, Matoma did get an assist in the last game where Brighton won 4-1. So, yeah, I am quite happy to play him, obviously, against Wolves away, as Wolves haven't proven that they can be clinical in terms of obviously shooting, as we saw in that Man United game. So, but they have shown obviously their attack is dangerous. But again, Brighton, same thing. They have a dangerous attack also, especially with João Pedro now in the team, and obviously that Matoma link up works really well, I think. So yeah, Matoma Wolves away. I'm sure he can do well. Next, we have Mbeumo, who has Fulham away. Now, this fixture, I can't really decide who is going to win this one because obviously Fulham did win theirs 1-0. But on the other hand, Brentford did draw against Tottenham 2-2. But again, because Mbeumo's on penalties, it does add that extra edge, obviously, to himself because obviously Tony is not available as a penalty taker. So again, Mbeumo could get a penalty in this game, and obviously that may be where the goals are coming from for Mbeumo. But also, he could have scored from open play easily in that other game. So obviously, I'm happy to go with Mbeumo, who's got Fulham away. And now moving on to Bruno Fernandes, who has Tottenham away. Now, I don't know what Man United will do in this fixture, honestly. I hope it's not the same as it was in the first one. I do hope they sort of wake themselves up and start working together as a team because it was very dysfunctional against Wolves. And potentially, if Bruno Fernandes doesn't, if the team around him as well doesn't improve, then maybe Bruno Fernandes is potentially a player that I will remove come game week 3. But he does have Tottenham away and he is on penalties, so fingers crossed Man United can bounce back even though they won 1-0 against Wolves. Moving on to Saka, who has Crystal Palace away. I'm quite happy to play Saka. I think he's the second most owned FPL player in the game at the moment, which obviously from his goal he scored in that Nottingham Forest 2-1 win. That is why we mostly have him in our teams, just because how nice he is in terms of scoring and his quality, obviously as a midfielder. So yeah, Saka with Crystal Palace away, I'm pretty happy playing him. And finally, we got Foden, who has Newcastle at home in the midfield. Now, this one will depend on, obviously, if we hear news on Man City's lineup. Because as we all know, there could be Pep Roulette, where we could see Foden maybe benched. Probably not likely, despite having the midfield a bit removed from Man City. But there's always that chance that he could be benched. So if he is benched, obviously that may change plans for me in terms of using my transfer. But until then, I will keep Foden. And obviously he has Newcastle at home. And it is a tough fixture, but I think Foden does play better in harder fixtures than easy ones. So
he also did play 90 minutes last night in a game against Sevilla, which I don't know whether you take it in a way that it means he starts or whatnot.
Yeah, again, a lot of minutes for Foden as well. So it is a bit 50-50 on what I do with him, but we'll come close to the time. We'll see what happens. And then finally up front, we got the two forwards. Got Nicholas Jackson, who has West Ham away. Obviously, Nicholas Jackson didn't get any returns in the first fixture against Liverpool. It was a tough one, but I was impressed with how Chelsea played against Liverpool, if I'm honest. And Nicholas Jackson did have 2 half chances in that game as well. So with West Ham next away, I think he can still maybe potentially score in that game or maybe get an assist. I did like how he played throughout that fixture against Liverpool. So yeah, I'm quite chuffed to play him. If I wouldn't have thought I would have a Chelsea player, if I'm honest, in Game Week 2 in this season, but I'm quite happy the way obviously Chelsea played in that first one. Hopefully they do well against West Ham away. And finally, we got Haaland, who has Newcastle at home and is my captain pick for my team. Now, yeah, obviously Man City did play last night in that Super Cup and Haaland played 90 minutes, but I'm still going to probably captain him as most people will. I think it's going to be split between Haaland or Saka, but I think I'm sticking with Haaland just because it's just too risky. It just depends on, even if he doesn't play the full 90 minutes against Newcastle, like we saw against Burnley, he didn't play 90 minutes, but he still managed to score 2 goals. So I think for me, that is set the captaincy on Haaland. And yeah, that's pretty much my starting 11. I'll just briefly go through my bench. We've got Areola, who was spoken about earlier, who has Chelsea at home. Botman, who has Man City away. Hill, who's got Liverpool away. And Obama, who has Chelsea at home. And I have one free transfer, and 0.5 million in the bank, so a little bit of money to mess around with, and obviously I'm playing 3-5-2. Now, in terms of my planned moves, at this current moment in time, I'm thinking of rolling my transfer. If I find out that Foden is going to obviously start against Newcastle at home, I don't see no reason to obviously remove him. I think I'll want to roll my transfer over just to see how my Game Week 3 team looks like, and potentially take out other players that I have concerns over. Maybe Bruno Fernandes if Man United don't improve against Tottenham away. But yeah, nonetheless, I think I'll be doing the same and rolling my transfer over.
Okay, nice. So it looks like both of us are planning to roll the transfer, which could be a good move. I think when we set up our teams in Game Week 1, we try to like set our team up to be good for the next couple of weeks. So unless you need drastic changes, I think you know rolling could be the play. And I think a lot of people will be rolling this week. But yeah, that's our teams out the way for Game Week 2, and that's how we're lining up. I'm going to take a few of your comments, but before I do, um, please don't forget to smash the like button, guys. It really helps support the channel. So if you haven't already, make sure you do drop a like, and also make sure you do consider subscribing to our YouTube channel if you are enjoying the content. As you know, we're streaming like 2-3 times every week. So if you don't want to miss out, also hit that notification bell and make sure you guys are subscribed. Let's take a few comments. Johnny says, Reece James. Yeah, as a fellow Reece James owner, I feel your pain. We know the risks. We know the risk of bringing Reece James into our team, because I did even mention in the deadline stream, I think Reece James hasn't played seven Premier League games in a row since 2021. Obviously, that's 2 years ago. So, it is concerning. But yeah, it's just one of those. We know how good he is when he does play. The points potentially has, but yeah, let's hope it's not too serious and then he can return very quickly. Should I keep or sell Salah this game week? I mean, that's pretty obvious to me. You have to keep him. I think he's probably the best asset to own this game week, especially with that home fixture against Bournemouth. I think he's, if you've got him, then I will definitely be captaining him, in my opinion. Krogsberg says, I'm considering bringing in João Pedro for Darwin. What do you make of this, Jordan? Is that something that you do right now?
See, that's an interesting one, because obviously Darwin didn't start in the first game that Liverpool had against Chelsea, so it's most likely maybe Klopp does decide to play Darwin against Bournemouth at home, and I think if he does, then I'll probably regret if he does obviously score, because he most likely will if he does start in that Bournemouth game. So I don't know whether the risk is worth it for obviously João Pedro, who has Wolves away. But again, João Pedro could, as a penalty taker as well, he could score from open play or from obviously taking a penalty. So it's a bit divided opinion with that one. I think personally for me, I'd probably keep Darwin. If I had
sorry, you mean keep João Pedro or bring Darwin in?
Bring Darwin in, sorry.
Oh, you bring Darwin in?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, my bad. I read the question wrong. You read it correctly. He's got Darwin. Sorry, he's got Darwin in his team.
Yeah.
But he's considering taking Darwin out and to bring João Pedro in. I think.
No, I'll keep Darwin.
You'd keep Darwin. Okay, interesting. I think if you went with Darwin, I would be tempted to keep him, because we saw in Game Week 1 against Chelsea, they played Jota down the middle, Liverpool, and it didn't quite work out. I think Jota he did struggle quite a bit, especially in that second half. Liverpool couldn't really control the ball. I know it was tough opposition, and obviously Bournemouth are going to be a lot easier, especially being at home at Anfield. But if I went with Darwin, I would hope that he starts, and I'd probably just keep him. If he doesn't start against Bournemouth, then 100%, I think next week you probably take him out. But hopefully Darwin could start for you, because if he does, it'd be a very nice differential against a team, like Liverpool did put 9 past last year at home, and you're hoping that is something, similar can happen again. Is João Pedro to Alvarez a good move? Says Florence as well. Good question. Obviously, I think Alvarez came on last night as well. He was a sub last night, so he could actually get the nod to start. I know Cole Palmer started last night on the right. Again, I personally wouldn't do it. I think João Pedro is fine against Wolves away. He's on penalties, as we mentioned. He's probably going to play, 80, 90 minutes. I wouldn't do it. I think Alvarez is still a risk because even if Alvarez does start in Game Week 2, then he becomes a risk potentially next week in Game Week 3. So you're always going to be questioning, is he going to start, I think. So for me, I'd just keep João Pedro if you have him. 5.5 million. He's probably going to rise in price as well. So you're going to get a bit of value in that way. I'd keep Pedro, I think. Um, Elohim says 3.5 million in the bank, Rashford to Salah for Game Week 2, and then captaining Salah. What do you make of this, Jordan?
No, yeah, this definitely worth it because if you're bringing Salah in, like Elohim is, then you would want to captain him for Game Week 2, and I do like this move. Obviously, it's only worth bringing Salah in if you're going to captain him. Obviously against Bournemouth at home. So yeah, I think it's a very risky move, but I like it because as Salah did show in obviously the Chelsea game, he can score. Unfortunately, it was offside, but he still managed to get a nice assist. So against Bournemouth at home at Anfield, that's looking pretty good for Salah, if I'm honest. And yeah, I do like the move from Rashford to Salah because we saw Rashford in that game against Wolves. He was absolutely non-existent on that pitch. I don't think he had that many ball touches in the first half, less than 10. So yeah, I do like the move from Rashford to Salah and the captain.
Yeah, I like obviously Salah as a pick this week. I will still give Rashford time. I think Rashford has proven that you don't want to. I don't want to be too knee jerky and just remove him after one poor game. I think you've got to give players a run, but if you can somehow bring Salah in, it could be worth it. Especially if you don't. Look, my team's going to be too hard to bring Salah in because of the structure. We'll have to change completely. But I do like Salah this week, and that fixture does look good. Eddie Nketiah said thoughts on Alvarez. Yeah, I like Alvarez as a player, of course, but again, he worries me in terms of minutes. I don't think he's a nailed starter still. And if he starts against Newcastle, which could happen, I could see him missing out in Game Week 3. So I would always be worried in that sense. But if you're feeling punty and you think he's going to start, obviously he's a great option as well. Is Saka okay as a differential captain this game week? I expect Haaland and Salah to actually be up there in terms of captaincy picks this game week. But if you want to go different, I don't think going with Saka is a bad idea. I don't think it's Crystal Palace away. Yes, Palace did keep a clean sheet, I think, in the last game week. I think they won 1-0, was it?
Yeah, 1-0 win.
Yeah, so I mean, Arsenal, they're an attacking team. We expect them to be on the front foot, most of the ball. I don't think it's a bad idea going with Saka. I mean, he's my vice captain, but yeah, it's decent. I still think Salah's the one if you've got him. I prefer, but yeah, I don't think Saka's a bad move. What do you make of going Saka, Jordan, or are you set on Haaland completely?
Yeah, I'm set on Haaland. I'm too anxious to change that. I think at the current moment, again, I think last season I did a similar thing where I captained, I think Salah. I think it was actually that Bournemouth game where they won 9-0, but Salah didn't score. And even though that's a past memory, it still haunts me to this day. But regardless of that, I still like Haaland as captain, despite him having a tough fixture to Newcastle at home, whereas Saka has an easier one than Crystal Palace away. I just think it's personally too risky. I think this early in fantasy to go with another captain option.
Fair enough. Colm says the last 3 games have finished 3-2 to the home side, Fulham, Brentford. Well, hopefully that means Mbeumo can get a goal or two because it seems like a high-scoring fixture. So, 1-2, nice stat there from Colm, 3-2. So a lot of goals usually in this game. Salah is a must for Game Week 2, says Yemex. Krogsberg, who to play? Sterling against West Ham or Richarlison against Man U? Havertz, Chilwell, and Jackson in my starting 11. Oh, you've got a bit of a benching headache there. Who would you play, Jordan? Would you go with the Sterling against West Ham or would you go Richarlison against Man United?
I'd probably go Richarlison against Man United. I don't know why. I don't know with Sterling why I'm always off-putting. Well, a bit early to say that, but I didn't really quite like him in that Liverpool game. Sterling, I didn't really see much of Sterling, if I'm honest, in that Liverpool game. I think he wasn't really
He had a
in goal.
couple runs into the box where
Yeah,
where he took a few players on, but I know what you mean in terms of impact. Maybe not as clinical as he could have been in that fixture.
yeah. And I think Richarlison, he had a bit more action. I mean, he had shots taken at obviously the goal against Brentford, but were saved. And obviously, Richarlison is the forward overtaking obviously Harry Kane, who's now left the club. So I think I would favour Richarlison for that more attacking threat that he gives.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a tough one. Who would you play? I'm probably going to say Sterling. Be different, but yeah, you could easily play Richarlison. Playing up top for Spurs could be a good value to have, especially at his price, and he obviously is a midfielder. Nishan says, I have done a snake draft with the lads. I'm torn between Nicholas Jackson and Callum Wilson or Nicholas Jackson and João Pedro. Thoughts? I don't know what you mean by a snake draft, but if you choose a striker, Nicholas Jackson has West Ham, and Nicholas Jackson did look quite good against Liverpool. I know he didn't finish his chances, but it's kind of like that Darwin situation where if a player is getting a lot of chances, it's still a positive in terms of FPL because you want players that are getting into the opportunity to score, and one or two hopefully will go their way. So I do like Nicholas Jackson, especially from Gameweek 3 onwards when Chelsea have a bit of a fixture swing. Nicholas Jackson, he's got a lot of promoted teams that he's going to come face. I think Gameweek 3, Gameweek 4, he has some nice run of games. So yeah, I like him. Wilson, I'd probably avoid for this game week just because he's got Man City. But yeah, I think Jackson, Jordan, you own Jackson, and are you happy to own him for the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to own him. Obviously, with the fixture swing Chelsea do have, where they'll be against newly promoted teams. I think hold on to Chelsea is a good idea because they do have difficult fixtures to start with. Obviously, Liverpool, and then it gets less harder when they have West Ham, but then it goes pretty much easy after that, I think. So yeah, I think Nicholas Jackson will obviously hopefully do well when the fixtures for Chelsea become more easier for him.
Yep. Thoughts on Jota or Bowen for snake draft? I'd probably go with someone like Bowen because I know he's playing a bit more central, like as a forward. And what David Moyes did say actually that Bowen can play as a striker because obviously we know that they're going to test him out there potentially. So Bowen could be an interesting differential. Jota again, I don't know if he's going to start down the middle because he didn't go too well for him against Chelsea. Klopp could decide to play Gakpo down the middle, or we could bring back Nunes in. So Jota is a bit of a risk in that sense. And also, we know Liverpool have now signed a defensive midfielder. I don't know if he's going to be available for the game on Saturday, but that's one to see. If that does happen, then Gakpo will move out of midfield and into his rightful position in up front. So, I'd still be wary of Jota because Liverpool have too many options. I'd avoid Liverpool if I'm being honest, apart from Salah. Phillips says, yeah, James injured again. Yeah, we've discussed James quite a bit. It's a bit annoying. Obviously, I am a James owner. I did bring him in from, I had him on the bench on my Game Week 1 squad. Is Pascal Gross a good differential? Thinking of transferring him in for Madison, but I don't know who's better. What do you think of this question, Jordan?
No, I don't think I'll be transferring Matt Madison if I had him. I mean, he was the key asset to Spurs' goals against Brentford. He assisted both of them. I think he's going to be a decent player, I think, against Man United. Obviously, Man United struggle again against Tottenham. Then I can potentially see Madison doing well in that fixture as well, despite it being a difficult one. It is one of those fixtures where both teams can score. And obviously, I think Madison can be part of that. But for Pascal Gross, I don't know if Pascal Gross.
3.9% ownership, so he's fairly low owned.
Yeah, I can see why the differential pick different to Madison, who's a bit more owned, I think. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'll be adamant taking Madison out after 2 assists as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Madison in itself is a differential, really. He's only owned by 14% of people, which is very, very low. So I think just hold Madison. I think he's got great fixtures coming up as well. I know Man United, it could be a bit tough, but Game Week 3, he's got Bournemouth. Game Week 4, he's got Burnley. Game Week 5, he's got Sheffield. I'd want him for those fixtures. So definitely hold on to Madison, I think. Krogsberg, who to start, Ederson against Newcastle or Turner against Sheffield? That's a bit tough one because obviously we own both. I still think I'll start Edison. I don't know why, but I don't like switching goalies around because I feel like when you try to do that and try to be smart, it always goes wrong. So it's always happened to me. But what do you reckon, Jordan?
I think if I had Turner, I think I would play Turner over Edison, if I'm honest. Just because the fixture that obviously Turner has, Sheffield United, newly promoted team, fresh to the league, is I think the likelihood of a clean sheet is more in favour of Turner than it is Edison. Because if you look at Newcastle against Aston Villa, fair play, Tyrone Mings did get injured and it fell apart in defence for them. But I still think Newcastle are dangerous.
Yeah,
literally are dangerous, especially Isak and even Wilson, who came on for a couple of minutes. Same with Harvey Barnes, both scored obviously against Aston Villa. So I honestly think Edison won't keep a clean sheet, but I have a higher chance of Turner, I think, keeping one against Sheffield United. So I'll probably start Turner.
Colm says Enzo Fernandez is someone I'm going to keep an eye on when Caicedo starts playing, and he could be on penalties now. James is out. Yeah, obviously James is out. Caicedo is an interesting one. For me personally, I don't think Enzo Fernandez. I don't think Enzo Fernandez is a player that we'd want in our FPL squads. I think he's a brilliant player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's excellent. But however, for FPL, he's not really the type of player that's going to get you many goals or assists in open play. If you're relying on penalties, I think for that type of player, defensive, like he's a bit of a holding playmaker. So I don't know if I'd be willing to bring in someone like Enzo because he obviously take up a Chelsea spot when you want player like Chilwell, maybe a Jackson, maybe even a Sanchez. So I'd be wary about bringing Enzo personally. But yeah, because obviously he's open play threat from open play. So I probably wouldn't do it. But yeah, it's interesting one if he becomes a penalty taker at I think 5 million. It could be a nice punt to go with. Toby Lang says, had KDB and Mings both picked up long-term injuries. Was I right to take the -4 and taking them out and saving the price drops on both? Yeah, I think you did the right move. I think if you've got both of them, that's very unlucky. Picking both, obviously now it's confirmed that they're out for a while. I think you did the right move taking them both out. It's just a bit unlucky on your part. Sherwin, welcome as well to the channel. I haven't seen you for a while. I hope you're well. Hi guys, does Gusto become an option? Obviously, the Chelsea fullback, he's priced at 4 million, and Reece James now being injured, it looks like Gusto is going to play, and that means there's a 4 million starting player at Chelsea, which doesn't happen very often. But again, me personally, I'll still wait a couple of weeks because if Gusto does play against who have Chelsea got? West Ham. If he plays against West Ham, then Reece James comes back for game week 3 or game week 4. Gusto comes back out again. So, yeah, I still would be very wary of bringing him in just because if James is back, he's going to go back to the bench. So, not for me. Still too much jeopardy there for me. If I was to bring in a Chelsea defender right now, I'd rather go for the goalie like Sanchez because he's going to play every game. Obviously, now Kepa's gone to Madrid. So I wouldn't mind Chilwell and Robert Sanchez and have a double Chelsea defense that way, obviously. So yeah, Gusto for me still. I wouldn't go there. What about you, Jordan? What do you think of Gusto? Now Reece James is out. Would you go there and bring him in?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea bringing obviously a Chelsea defender like Gusto in. His ownership will be relatively low. I think most people will actually look at bringing in another Chelsea player other than Chilwell. Is pretty much the only remaining one left. I think that defensively we would go for. So I think Gusto is different as an option and not a bad one. If Chelsea can keep clean sheets as well, that could be potentially a good point magnet.
Yeah, it could be good short term. I think 100%. It's just my worry is longer term when James comes back. If it's not serious, if it's not that serious, then you'll have to take him out again, basically. FPL Boo Boo High Duo. I have Jota, keep or sell. Interesting. If I had Jota, what would I do? It's a tough one because I don't know if he's going to start again. Because I do think Gakpo, Nunez, etc. I'd rather them start. Obviously, as a Liverpool fan, I think Klopp would probably play one of them against Bournemouth at home. But Jota's such a differential as well that if he does play, he's still a good option. I know he didn't have the best of games against Chelsea, but that was a tougher opposition. So if I had him, it depends who you would bring in. Because the options, if I look at Jota right now, sorry, let me just bring this up. What's Jota's price again? Was it 7 point? Was it Diego Jota 8 million? Sorry, so he's quite expensive, and he's taking up quite a bit of your budget as well. So if you could move him, who would you go for in midfielder? I do like Maddison, if I'm being honest. I know he's got Man United this week, but after that, the fixtures look quite good. So I would be tempted selling Jota because, again, I'm not sure he's that nailed. He could easily come and drop out the starting 11 come Saturday. Second question was Luis Diaz for KDB and Emerson Royale for Mings, the right moves. Do you think these were the right moves, Jordan? Bringing in Luis Diaz and bringing in Emerson Royale, obviously, at Spurs.
I mean, both of them did score in Gameweek 1. Luis Diaz a nice, decent goal. Emerson Royale as well. Emerson Royale had Man United. With the way their form was in the first game week, I wouldn't say that's a bad move to go for. Emerson Royale, he looked pretty good against Brentford in that 2-2 draw. Same with Diaz. I was quite happy with him, and he showed the form he did before his injury last season as well. So I think Klopp will definitely start Luis Diaz against Bournemouth, which another great fixture. I think to go for Luis Diaz is not really owned either, a differential pick. So in terms of the right moves, Toby, for the players you're taking out, I think they're pretty good moves long term as well.
Okay, we are going to wrap it up here. It's been a nice stream. We want to thank everyone for watching. If you have enjoyed the content, as always, make sure you do smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed as well. Get us to 1,000 subs if you can, guys. It would be very appreciated. Sherwin says, I've got the notification bell on, but nothing pops up on screen. If that's the case, you might be on your settings where you have to turn on the notification, the banners at the top, on, like, if you have an iPhone, I think you have to turn on the banners. So check that out, but you should get notification if you've got it on. But
there is an issue with YouTube at the moment in terms of people not receiving notifications as well. So that may be also the problem too.
Yeah. So hopefully that does get sorted. And Toby says, legends, thanks. Yeah, thank you, Toby, for joining us all. The chat has been nice having you, nice chatting to you as well. But yeah, I think we are going to wrap it up here. I want to say a big thank you to everyone for watching. Krogsberg, do you guys have a Discord channel? Yes, I'm just going to shout that out right now. If you want to follow us on our socials, they're all at the top, the FPL Duo. The link actually for our Discord channel is in the description below. So if you go check the description after the stream, you just click on the Discord and you'll automatically be joined in. So do check it out in the description below. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We will be back again tomorrow, actually. We're back tomorrow around... What time is it? I'm just going to check because I don't know when the deadline is. It is a 6:15 deadline. So we'll probably stream at around 5 o'clock. So 5 p.m. UK time, we're going to be back for a deadline stream. Friday deadline. So don't forget, guys, it's not a Saturday deadline this weekend. But yeah, we'll be back. So make sure you tune in for that. Anything else you'd like to add, Jordan, before we do wrap it up?
Thanks, guys, for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and obviously it's helped for your team selections and whatnot coming up to the deadline, which is fast coming tomorrow. So yeah, tune in for that, and until then, take care, have a nice day, and see you soon.